Everyone can hear me okay? Good, good. Well, glad you're aboard. Good to see faces. I was thinking tonight about, let's start with this. I live in Lowell, New York, and I've been up there for years as a registered medium on the grounds and been at it for, 47 years registered there. And I'm down here in Naples, Florida at the moment, and we're enjoying the sunshine down here because winter up there is really nasty. So I'm enjoying the idea of being down here. And if anybody would like to reach me, the information would be, website would be www.rev, R-E-V, Gregory Kehn, K-E-H-N.com. That'd be Rev, R-E-V, Gregory Kehn, K-E-H-N.com. And the phone number to reach me for an appointment would be 716-595-3529, 716-595-3529. And 19th of March is when we're going to be doing the next show and class. So it should be a lot of fun then, 19th of March. So hello, everyone. And I was thinking tonight about people learning to utilize their ability of calmness in daily life and utilizing their mediumship, because we all have the abilities and skills. It's just that we don't always utilize them in the way that we need to, or at least be helpful to us. And I find that when we get ourselves nervous and upset with things or worried about things, we actually shut down the ability to some degree of what we're able to pick up on and how much we're able to pick up. And I find that this is something that right now in the world, there's a lot of energies happening that are very, very disruptive to people. And I've seen some people get very upset over things because they don't know what to do with it. If you just want to raise your hands when I say this and respond in that manner, be fine. How many of you have been feeling that you're becoming more in tune and more sensitive to things, more aware of things? And when we recognize that, we're realizing in ourselves that we're feeling more and sensing more. And I really feel Spirit's helping us with that because of the times and the changes in the world around us. It's getting a little crazier at times, not only with nature, but people, mankind. I notice it down here with people driving, it gets a little crazy. And I find that people are losing patience and they're getting themselves really uptight over things. In reading for people, I've been noticing more and more that there are people that are having a very difficult time where they just cannot handle the emotional stress they've been under. And I find that it doesn't matter what's causing the emotional stress, it's just emotional stress. No matter who it would be or what it would be going on, it's there. And to be aware of that's a real interesting energy right now. I believe that the energies and times we're moving into are certainly more stressful in some ways, but I also feel we're being given the ability to be more in tune spiritually, and our guides, teachers, loved ones, guardian angels, whatever title you'd like to put on it, they're there for us and they're helping us. And how many of you have been noticing that little events, sometimes just intuitive feelings about what's coming up or what's going to happen, that you're feeling it before it happens, or you're having a sensation of feeling like, I got to watch this or watch that and be careful of it. And you start recognizing how that all ties in. And that's what we're needing to understand our abilities. You know, I know a lot of people would say, well, I read this book and, did this meditation and played around with some card reading. And there's a whole bunch of things we can do to sharpen our skills and understand what we're feeling. But I really find that just in a general purpose of saying, if we can be in a calmer state of mind, Spirit works with us more, and we're going to have more interesting events and guidances come to us that will be very helpful. And that's something that we're needing to be aware of now that we're really in need of. I imagine all of you have had some experiences recently of wondering why people act in the way they do due to things they're doing and how erratic they can be. And I've also noticed how people have been dealing with either illness for themselves or illness with loved ones around them and trying to take care of them and help them. And it really gets a little on the crazy side at times. I've had more people recently that I've worked with or read for that they're talking about illness in the sense of relatives and they have to take care of them and maintain their lives, be it at home or be it in a nursing home setting. I've watched that happen a lot. And I feel this is where, as the world is shifting, there's some people choosing to check out and go on and not be here and hang on because they don't want to deal with the rash changes that are occurring. And we're needing to be aware the calmer we become, the more in tune we're allowing ourselves to be. You know, we all have guardian angels. We all have entities around us that help us all the time. And we're needing to understand that they're always there. No matter what state of mind we're in, they're always there. No matter how positive or negative we're feeling, they're always there. And I always refer to it as putting out that thought and prayer to God, asking God to guide us, which is relayed to the guardian angels around us. And they come in and help us in many ways. You know, how many of us recently have had, I wouldn't say necessarily tragedies, but certainly some upsets that you look at and think, my God, you know, we need to get through this or get it handled. And I've been noticing with people how stressed people have been getting over that. That's really been a tough energy. And I notice it down here now, right now, we're in Florida, and we'll be back up in Lolydale in probably mid-April. We'll be up in Lolydale again. But I'm looking at all the energies around the world and all the things that are happening. I don't normally watch the news. And recently I've been watching the news some, and I've been watching the Weather Channel. And I look at all the things that are occurring that people are talking about earth changes, weather changes, all the things that are occurring. It's stressing people out. And it's stressing them out a great deal more than most people realize. Whether it is to themselves or others, they're not realizing how stressed they're getting. I don't know how many of you would be involved in a development class or sitting in like we're doing tonight. And this is something that I find I enjoy doing with people to get them to understand that the real essence of our own healing and mediumship is the calmness we can be in spite of the craziness that's going on in the world around us. And as long as we're thinking of that in that form and focusing on it in that form, we're going to bring balance to our lives in a way that's really wonderful. You know, I've always felt my guides and teachers from childhood, and I have to think about it at times for everyone else that, you know, may not be as in tune to things as I would normally have experienced, and for them to understand where they're feeling and where they're sensing things. I believe Spirit's working very hard to work with us, to help us, and to help us be more in tune to what we're sensing and feeling. How many of you here, and then you can raise your hand again if you feel this, how many of you here have felt like there's more of a guidance around you than what in the past you were used to? Good, good. And that's an energy that I think is going to keep expanding. And I know each of you in your own areas, if you have the opportunity to sit in on a class or a group or a meditation group, that'd be wonderful. I think that'll be very helpful. You know, I find that prayer, you know, I have some people say, well, you know, it sounds too religious. And it's not the idea of religious, it's the idea of knowing that God's presence is with us. And the calmer we become and more we tap into that, the better the energy becomes in our life. And we have things run a lot smoother. You know, I know Spirit takes care of me and loved ones around me. I know we're guided all the time, and we're needing to relax with the idea of allowing it. You know, my grandmother used to say to me, when we trust Spirit and allow Spirit to work with us and not try to do it consciously and force our will, we then have the harmony that God has meant for us. And if we allow ourselves to force our will and consciously try to make things happen in the manner we want or the outcome we desire, we end up with more turmoil. And that's something we're needing to tap into and be aware of. How many of you have a group or a circle or meditative group you go to now? Raise your hands. Okay, good. You know, I keep feeling an energy with each of you, and it's an interesting energy to recognize in the world around us how we're joining together and reaching out to join together. And I feel a lot of healing energy coming through for all of us. And whether it is a mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual, there's a healing energy there, and it's going to keep manifesting more and more for us. And I feel that's going to keep working for us. You know, everyone everyone has a certain ability, but I feel like right now, with us here tonight, I want to say, starting out with the thought that we can just be in harmony by being quiet and being more at ease and allow ourselves to be open. You know, Spirit said to me one time, we need to make a space for our calmness to manifest in. And we get our conscious minds going in the conscious world and all the things we have going, we can just consume every part of our energy and our being in those conscious things. And we need to be able to step out of that a bit and allow ourselves to be away from that and not allow it to be such a draining energy. Because sometimes it can be almost to the point of fatiguing to go through that. You know, as a child, I was taught some meditation and to work with the idea of meditating and concentrating on the idea of just one intent and calmness. And I feel that helps a lot. I know there's a lot of people, including myself, to be able to really sit still and be truly calm. I've never had my mind be completely still or completely quiet. It's always running off and doing something and exploring in some form. And that's where I find that we need to allow that little kid to run off and explore. And the bigger, more powerful part of us is being still and being calm. And the child comes back to the calmer part and says, how can you be so concentrating? How can you be so peaceful? And it then becomes interested in it, and it becomes a part of it. And that's where I find a lot of people haven't had the patience to be still long enough to allow that to happen. I find that what's going on in the world right now, we're needing to be in tune to the idea that we're going through changes that are awakening people that are maybe not as awake or as aware as we are, and understanding it and realizing that I know people in varying degrees have a little bit of fear about the world and the changes and what's occurring. I mean, I've had some people comment to me, it's like, what's the president's doing and all kinds of things. So I look at that energy, but I want to say, I really feel the prayer and the meditative energy is what's really going to bring the balance in and bring the harmony of the healing. You know, I watch people politically, and I remember one time as a child, I was watching TV and they had a presidential debate on. And my father was looking at it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm very bored with it. I was a little kid. I was very bored with it. And I said to him, I said, can we watch the other program? And he says, well, no, we have to vote, and we have to have a new president, and all these things, and he explained it all. And I said, but why would you want to vote for someone that lies? And I said, this one lied about this, and this one lied about that, and that one lied about that. I said, so why would you want to vote for any of them? And he just looked at me, and my mother stood in the kitchen and come around the corner, and she goes, Gene, I want to hear the explanation for that. So, you know, looking at things in this truth manner and being in a calmer space where you can really see what's the truth and what isn't the truth, I think it's very interesting to be aware that we're needing to do that now, because in the times we're in, we're needing to be able to see through things that are, say, smoke and mirrors and manipulations, and we need to see through them, be it our neighbor, be it family, be it political, be it whatever it may be. We're needing to be in tune to that, and we can move through that. And I think it's so important to tap into that energy. And, you know, I've looked at that in life, and I've often thought, you know, political things bore me, but they also upset me, because I look at people that have their own agendas and their own games that they're playing. And I see it in many microcosms in the world. I feel it's changing. And some people look at it and say, well, it's really getting bad. Well, I feel like sometimes we have to look at it has to get a little bad before we can make it good, because it brings out the recognition of what's negative or who's negative or what people are really doing, and see the true colors. I really feel that all of us have had something happen in the more recent time span of recognizing true colors in others. And whether it was verbal or whether it was emotional or whatever it may be, recognizing the people that are liars or game players or manipulators, users, all that's surfacing more. And it's not happening more, but we're becoming more sensitive and we're able to recognize it. And as we recognize it, we can heal. And whether it's healing that person or whether it's just working with the energy to not be allowing ourselves to be used and abused by others in the way that they'd want to do it, I've watched it happen quite a bit. And it could be as simple as driving down the highway and some of the games people play on the road to other emotional games that are going on with people in their lives or family. And I feel like that's coming up stronger and more now. And it's going to get stronger and more now. And I just want to say, be aware of it. And just in your own calmness, surround yourself with that light. Go to work, and not done in fear, but done in harmony. You know, we don't need to be fearing anything, but to have the harmony and be carrying the energy of harmony, instead of the negativity piercing our energy and draining us, we're able to share the positive energy and the healing energy that keeps manifesting more. Now, if we have anything going on that would be, say, spiritual questions, not necessarily personal reading levels, but spiritual questions, I was going to ask if someone has any questions that would retain the idea of spirituality and balance. Yes, Jane. Who?
Jean, I'm going to unmute her.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. What's your question?
When you mentioned to surround ourselves with healing and light, to visualize that, should we be visualizing white light or green light or like a big thing of light around us, or how should we do that?
Well, really what it comes to is, what do you feel more comfortable with? I know a lot of people look at blue light, green light, and healing. And a lot of people look at the white light, and that's what they're drawing in or projecting around themselves. So it's what you really feel is the light energy that you desire and feel the most harmony with. Mm-hmm. And I would say it this way. I've had it happen many times where I would work with different colors of light due to the circumstances that are occurring. Mm-hmm. If I'm working on something that would be pertaining to healing, I would usually work with a blue-green light. And I would project that thought of that blue-green light and filling yourself and projecting that energy out to other people and whoever's in need of that. Okay. And I've had people tell me that, you know, in the middle of the night, they'd wake up and they'd say, well, you know, you were here last night. And they would see a blue-green aura around me. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes they'd say a green aura. And I believe that's all connected with the healing. Mm-hmm. And I've also had it happen where they would come through and say, well, I saw this white light glowing around you. Your mm-hmm. aura was white. So it's a variable of energy as to what you're choosing to work with and what you're feeling more comfortable or in need of.
Okay, because when I try to meditate at Lilydale in the sit, they told us to like visualize the healing coming down into us, filling us up.
Yes.
The way it came through to me was like an inverted cone, yes. Like the triangle wide part on the top, and then like just like a funnel of yes. like white light, like white sparkly light. So it should just come to us, whatever color we're supposed to be working with?
Yes, I think that'll come to you in that way, yes. Mm-hmm. To allow yourself to go with the color that you're feeling at that time. Mm-hmm. I've had a variable level of colors at times, mm-hmm. depending on what I was working with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a question? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you're on.
Hi, I wanted to ask you to speak a little bit more about those experiences where people have beheld you, you have appeared or manifested with light. I think on 3 or 4 occasions in my life, I've had, people call me at 3 or 4 in the morning and say, we were just here at the foot of the bed with light and so forth. And,
yes.
Well, that's very interesting. And I think the 2nd or 3rd time I began to realize something was happening, but I had no it wasn't an act of volition. I didn't choose to do that. And I certainly didn't, on my end, know that it happened.
Yes.
So if you could talk about that, that would be great. Love to hear it.
Well, one of the things there when you were saying that, let's take it back a little further and say, haven't you always thought of the intent to be helpful to others, to be healing to others, to be uplifting to them in a healing manner in your conscious level?
Yes.
And because you set that intent, excuse me, because you set that intent, I feel that carries over into the sleep state, that carries over into the astral state, because at a soul level, you've made that commitment to God, and you're asking to be of service, to be able to be helpful to those who are in need. And it may happen to people you really know, and maybe recognized in that form, but I've had it happen where I've worked with perfect strangers and had no idea, and I've also had it happen where people knew me on the earth plane level. They knew me in a conscious level, and they would call me. And I remember as a kid, they'd call my mom and go, "Gregory was here last night." And it was always an energy of healing, and it was always an energy where they would see color around me. And I think by setting your intent in the manner that you did in your conscious level, that carried right over in service to others at a level of astral plane or just traveling to heal. And if they were in need, you'd feel it and you'd go with it. And I know too, when you were saying you didn't remember it, I've had over my lifetime hundreds of times this has happened, and I don't remember a lot of that. And it's something that I've had people call me and say, "Greg, you were here last night."
Uh-huh.
So enjoy it and know that it's a wonderful energy, and you've already set the intent. And to allow yourself to be in that freedom, I'll give you a little short story that may help. I had a neighbor when I was going to school, a little kid, and the neighbor and I got along very well, young lady, and we had a wonderful time being friends. And she said to me one time, she said, she says, I feel like we talk, but it's at night when we're sleeping. And I said, well, I'm sure we do. And she got very sick, didn't get on the bus in the morning the one morning. And I got on the bus to the next stop, and I normally would sit with her. And I was really concerned about her because I felt something, was really wrong. And I went to school, come home from school, got up at her stop, and went up to the house and checked on her. And her mom said she was so sick and that, she didn't want me to come in and visit because she didn't know what she had. And I said, fine. So I went home, which was, the next farm over. I went home and I said to my mom what was going on. And she says, well, you know what to do. So I took my shoes off and I went in the bedroom and laid down, and I concentrated healing, and I was focusing on her with healing. And then I got up and did the chores, and we had dinner and everything. And that evening I focused on her again. Well, she was laying in bed telling her mom, while her mom's putting compresses on her, that Gregory's here and he's helping me. Well, the daughter could see me and the mother couldn't. And the mother was freaking out thinking that the daughter's delirious. And the daughter was really talking about it because she said, Mom, I'm feeling the energy. And it was something that I didn't know about it. I don't remember the event of it occurring. But the next day, her mom called my mom and said, this is what my daughter was telling me. And the fever broke and everything changed. Well, I believe very much that setting intent is a huge purpose and focus for us to do. And we can do it in the most subtle manner. It doesn't take a huge ritual to do this, but setting that intent is so important. And my mom had her come over for coffee, and they sat and talked about it, and she explained to her what was really going on, with the healing. So after that, she was very open to it. But I feel with you having those experiences is very similar. And that for everyone, this isn't just for him in a message, this is for everybody. If we allow ourselves to relax and set that intent, and we're putting out that good wish energy, that healing energy for someone, and we don't even have to think about it. I've driven by accidents and I've sent the energy. I've been in restaurants and send energy to people I look at and I feel the energy with them, or ill health or conditions with them that is something health-wise. I send the energy out all the time. I don't even think about it. It's just a second nature. And that's something that as we're doing that, you know, you see results. I had one gentleman in a restaurant. He turned and looked at me so seriously and really powerful, almost staring look for a moment. And I just smiled at him and said hello and went back to eating. And I know the spirit energy was there and I know the healing energy was there, because he got up and he walked over to the table to me and he shook my hand. And he didn't say a word, just shook my hand and he walked away. But I know there was an inner spirit in him that knew what was really going on. So it's a wonderful aspect. And for you to set that intent, you're just having the reflection come back to you of what you really did do and the intent you had put out there and how well it works.
Thank you.
Works nicely. Please continue. We need all to do that. If we work on that, excuse me tonight, the throat here. We all need to set the intent in that manner and in other levels of helping. You know, I've said a lot of things to people where I didn't say it verbally, but I would just put out the thought in prayer mentally for the change for them, for the help to them, in whatever circumstance it may be. You may not consider it healing in a sense of laying out of hands, but that energy is there. And to work with that is very, very powerful. It's wonderful. So think about setting the intent in the circumstances around you in your life and setting the intent. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger, a loved one, family, doesn't matter who it is. You know, you can put out that energy. I've had people be very angry and be in a sense almost wanting to fight with people, and I'd walk by them and I'd say, excuse me, and I'd just brush my finger or hand against them for a moment. And they were left standing there stunned and they didn't know what to do with the energy, because all this anger and all this energy was gone. And they're standing there looking like they don't know what happened. And they go back and sit down. So it's like you can work with those energies to bring harmony and calmness. I believe that the astral plane is something we all function in. We just don't always remember it or recognize the occurrence of it. I at times don't remember dreams, but I know I'm dreaming. I know I have a lot of things happen in dreams, but I'm not always aware of the dreams, or that I would wake up and remember all of them. And at other times I'll wake up and remember dreams that are so completely vivid that, I mean, touch and feel and smell, and I mean, everything is there. So if we just allow ourselves to relax with what we're able to do, we're more powerful in a way of helping than we give ourselves credit for. And at times we fall way short of the attempt we can make to make things better. And it's not the physical plane focus, it's the spiritual plane focus. Any other question?
1 second.
All righty.
So to build on that, when you're trying to send that energy to someone, are you saying, you know, you think a prayer, please, Lord, help them. If it's somebody in a hospital bed, help them heal whatever area needs to be healed? Or are you visualizing like that green or blue light around them? Or how do you specifically, what's the best way to do that?
Well, when you first stated that, that fits, because what you're doing is just asking for the healing and the harmony. I've worked with people many times who are on a deathbed, and I believe that healing occurs here or hereafter. And I find at times the healing was they go to spirit and they're healed there. And it's something that we need to understand, that not try to place an outcome of forcefulness in a conscious way. To be able to set the prayer up, they were asking healing for them. And you put it in God's hands in a sense, and we're not judging it in one direction or another. We're just asking for the healing to be there. And in a sense of saying, you know, asking for the highest and best.
I see.
That way, we're not getting in our own way, or we're not getting in a way with a prayer. I've seen some people pray in a very demanding manner.
Mm-hmm.
And, all we're doing is mucking things up. If we just pray in a healing manner, and that's all we send out is that, and we let go of the rest of it, and we don't try to make judgment on it or try to synchronize an outcome on it, highest and best. And I do it in that form, and I find that works the easiest and the best. I've had people that have had amazing conditions occur with health. I mean, I know one gentleman that he was on his deathbed. They told him basically they were surprised he was still living from the day before. And I walked in and I was talking to him, and he was able to communicate. And I said to him, I said, Spirit's telling me you're going to be here. You're going to get through this. I said, you're going to come out all right.
Mm-hmm.
I said, in the living, in the body, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, within a 2-day time span, he had an experience where they did another test, and they were going to, in their minds, the doctor's minds, was going to confirm that he's, 4th-stage cancer. It was gone.
Wow.
So, there's things that are going to happen that's a blessing, and I don't question it. I just reinforce the energy flow to bring the highest and the best, and I let it go with that. I don't want to get in the way of it.
I see.
And if we just do it in that form, I think that's really working the easiest for us and everyone else involved.
It's tempting to ask for something specific, but I see what you're saying.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. My grandmother used to say to me when I was she started telling me this when I was 8. She said, do you want the carriage house behind the mansion, or do you want the mansion? And, what we pray for, we just may get it. And we're needing to look at the idea of what intent are we setting, because we're steering things in directions that are sometimes off track.
Mm-hmm.
I taught a few classes with kids at a Unity church in Warren, Ohio, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I said to him one time, I said, listen, I said, when God drives the bus and we just get on and go sit down, and he drops us off right where we need to be and gives us directions to exactly where we need to go, we're going to be fine. But if we get behind the wheel and try to drive the bus, we're going to end up in the ditch. And I find that to be so true with our intent at times.
Mm-hmm.
And to look at the idea of how we're programming prayer, how we're programming intent, how frustrated we get when we don't see the outcomes that we consciously desire or want,
mm-hmm.
or at times we try to force to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. I've had it happen. And it's like, I've had things that whatever I would put the intent out for, I always ended up more and better than what I'd even thought about or desired in the first place. So I've gotten used to the idea that let's not try to tie it down and put a serial number on it, and here's the paint color I want, and all that. Just let it be, and then it works really well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions someone have? No question. I don't see any more hands up. Yes. Just a moment. I can't hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about the country, and I guess we could say we're at a certain stage of spiritual unfoldment as a group. And I was wondering, how you view that, or I'm, like many people, very deeply concerned that we're going off the tracks away from democratic ideals. And so I guess the question might be, how can we as individuals, as well as a larger community, engage to be helpful and supportive in helping the United States to be the best, the most honest, and really existing in the world with integrity and honor?
Well, think of it this way. Look how many people, and I don't like getting into a bunch of political stuff, but I've witnessed the energy in this. How many people have voluntarily quit the political situation recently? And a lot of that was circumstances that they felt spiritually was going the wrong direction. And they'd step back and say, okay, I'm retiring. I don't agree with things. I can't go along with this. And they step back. And that's where I find that we're really putting all of us as souls to a test. How really honest are we? And how really honest are we demanding the world and the public situation to be? And you could say political situation to be, governmental situation, whatever you want to call it. And I find that it's really testing people for the depth of honesty and the depth of spirituality. And it has nothing to do with religion as religion, but it's the idea of spirituality, of what are we doing and how are we doing to have things in the order that it really should be in. And how did we come to the point we have come to, where you see all the games and manipulations going on? And, you know, like one person said to me, you know, things are going to heck in a handbag and nobody looks at that, but they're over there fighting and arguing about things that are rather silly. And it's something that's what I feel we're coming to, is not only are we recognizing more truth and honesty of what needs to be, but people that are caught up in their own little egos and their own manipulations are being called on it and recognized for what they are and how they are and who they are. And I think that's going to be coming up more and more now. And I feel that, you know, our way of looking at it now, like when you referred to the group, like this group here, I'm sure spiritually we have a desire to have the harmony and to bring harmony where we can. And if we do that in that prayerful, meditative manner, we're going to bring more harmony there. And I find with people, you know, I said to a gentleman one time, he was protesting things and he was very angry and very upset. And I said to him, I said, why do you want to add to the energy? And he looked at me in the strangest look and he goes, I'm fixing it. And I said, well, aren't you adding to the energy of anger and frustration? And it just kept building more and more. And he couldn't see the idea of why are we incorporating our own energy in that negativity? We're needing to step out of that energy and allow ourselves to be in the harmony and the calmness to bring the positives in and to manifest not only the positive energy, but to work with it growing and expanding. And I see some people, you know, they get really carried away, and even though they're wanting to portray themselves in a positive manner, not necessarily are they being positive. You know, I had a gentleman one time in a meeting, it was a large community meeting, and he come down and he's angry and his blood vessels were sticking out on his neck. He was all upset. And he said, these people lied and got away with it. And I looked at him and I said, they're only going to get away with it until summer. And when summer comes, they're going to be caught for what they are, who they are, and what they're doing. And I said, you couldn't fix it by yelling and screaming. I said, it's not going to matter right now. I said, but they have to do what they have to do to show people their true colors. And then all of a sudden people will awaken and no longer believe or go along with what they're presenting. But the other people have to see that. And they went through into the next summer, and those three gentlemen left the community, completely left the community, and never came back because they couldn't get away with maneuvering and manipulating. And all the people they had first convinced of things all turned on them and realized what liars and game players they really were. So sometimes we have to look at some of the negativities that occur and realize that that has to happen for people to see it. Even if they're at that moment believers in it, then the transition occurs where they awaken. And I know myself, I get very frustrated with how long things take. I find myself being very upset at times. I think if you looked at a bio of mine, I died 3 times when I was 11 years old. And I was very frustrated with the world and how the world was and how people treated people and all these things in life. And I realized that, you know, I went over and came back 3 times, and I refer to it now as Spirit took 3 times to convince me that I needed to be here and work with what I do. And it's something that I'm enjoying it. I love it. I recognize the negativities in the world, and I get just as frustrated at times as others. But I realize that I'm not going to add to the frustration and energy. I'm going to add to the healing. And that's what I'm here for. Yes. Any other question?
Wait. Okay, Richard.
Hey, Richard.
I have a question. For those of us still working, you have to get up every morning and go to work. Do you have any advice on how to remain like that, make it as interesting as possible? You know,
well, let's say it this way. I have found I have found recently, now going back to when my dad was living, he put 36 years in a steel mill, and he did very well, and had a nice retirement, and did very nicely. And I look at people now that very seldom have 36 years in anywhere, or even a great deal less than that. And I find that right now, people are functioning and businesses are functioning from a level of saying, it doesn't matter, we'll put somebody in that position. And there's no integrity anymore on a lot of levels there. And to make your life a little better in the sense of work, let's really look at the things you do that you enjoy doing. Focus on those. And this is the means to the end. I'm working, and I can afford then to do all these other things I really love and enjoy. And to look at that as a scale of balancing, how much am I needing to do the things I love and enjoy? And I focus on that level, and I find that it really does help to bring that kind of thought process or building of that thought process in your working life. And I know a number of people that work every day, and they do 5-6 days a week. And I know one gentleman said to me one time, he says, I try to be positive, but it reaches a point where I'm very bored, and I get very, very angry at the idea of how disharmonious the work environment he was in. And we talked about it, and I said to him, I said, let's make a game out of it, that you're enjoying being there, and you're watching the game, and you're seeing the game players, and you're seeing which ones are playing a game, and which ones that are sincere in accomplishing. And just be aware of it, and you can be in harmony on the positive side of making things happen and happen right. Not doing more than you should do, or less than you should do, but have that harmony. And it's been hard for you because I feel there was a time that you felt like what you were working on was some goal orientation, that you had goals and you were focused on the goals. And now I feel like you've reached a point in your life where you're looking at a whole lot of things and thinking, what in the world are we doing that for? And how come we have to put up with all this disharmony? That makes sense?
Yes.
And I feel that we're having a lot of world events around us occurring that are making people really wonder and think about what's happening. I feel there's times that certainly you would like to escape and just get away from everything. And it's like, if I could do that, I'd do that, and just get away. And that's where I feel you've been coming from in your thoughts. And I feel to take a little time out here to even organize a weekend away, go do something you really love and enjoy doing, and it breaks up the energy, and you can come back at it from a level of being more the observer instead of the participant. Observing what's going on instead of being a participant in what's going on. Because you got some things around you there with people in the workplace that gets a bit stressful.
Yes.
And, the whole world is going through quite a few changes, and you're a person that would like to be ahead of the game and understand what's happening and be prepared for it. And I think being prepared in a common sense manner is a wonderful energy, and you're tapping into that more, and you're realizing how really chaotic the world is becoming in some ways. And I certainly feel that in a city setting. I don't know how close you are to a city, but I feel a city setting energy. And it's something that you're looking at people and thinking how goofy they can be at times.
Yes. Everybody's caught up in their own dramas, essentially.
Yes. And you're tapping in and realizing that sometimes you take on the energies without realizing you're doing it. and it really then disrupts you. And I want to say a little more of self-protection, of putting things at an arm's reach around you where they're not able to drain you and pull on you to the degree that they were.
Okay.
It's not being in tune, but it's being in tune, but keeping those things at an arm's reach where they're not, filling you and draining into you.
Yes, I agree.
You have some very toxic people around you, and that you're beginning to tap in now and realize, okay, God bless them somewhere else, preferably a little further away.
Yes.
My grandmother taught me that when I was very little. I come home from school and I had been picked on a bit, and she said to me, God bless them somewhere else, preferably further away. And that way you're putting the energy out there. You're not sending any negativity. You're just sending a very positive energy. May they be somewhere else and be in harmony in their own life. May they learn and accept their lessons in the manner they need to, but not include me in it.
Okay.
Any other question?
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. God bless. Anyone else have a question? No questions, huh? Who's over here? Marina? Marina?
Okay.
Marina? Marina? Okay. Yes.
Wait, who was it?
Up in the corner. Blue
Okay.
vest.
Steve. Okay.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Greg.
You have a question?
I can cook one up.
Go for it.
What's the most important thing for our group to hear this evening from Spirit that will help us to be of greater service?
Well, to number one, know we can do what Jesus did, and we have the ability to work with the healing, and we talked about that as the night went on there. But it's also a circumstance too to recognize that we have learned to separate ourselves in a form of protection, when in reality we pull away from each other in some ways instead of support each other, and to be aware of that thought in prayer. Now, like I'm looking at all your faces here and the connections we're making tonight in class, I believe that we're knitted together as a body of energy. And if we have the thought and energy, if you have a thought and energy, everyone else is feeling and sensing. And we may not be always conscious of it, but it's there. And we're so much closer than people realize. And if we work on that in a way of sending out that intent and energy, I believe at soul levels, we all pick up on that and keep expanding on it. And it's going to be something to work very well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Looks like
someone made it in. No, I think that'll work very well. And I think that's something that I believe with Spirit, the love that Spirit has for us, no matter how much we muck up or mess up, we're going to be helped. We're going to be guided. They're going to be there for us. And I find at times, I've had people say to me, well, God left me, Spirit left me, I'm all on my own. Well, I don't believe Spirit and God has left anybody. If anything, we pull back from them. And we're needing to be aware of that and realize that we sometimes can be like little kids. And if we don't get our way, we can throw a little bit of a fit. And we can pull back from people or loved ones around us. And I believe also that with all the things going on in the world around us, I believe that, for example, we're having difficulties with foods and all kinds of things here that the chemical companies and food companies are putting things in that I don't think are helpful or healthy with us at all. And we're needing to be aware here that I believe we're going back from all the mechanized things back to more simple time, simple energy, simple things, even to the point of growing things for ourselves. I've noticed in some of the bigger cities, they have what they call the roof gardens and different things like that going on. Well, I'll just round it off and say, going back to some really basic energies, but it's so needed because we need to be back in touch with that. We weren't meant to be running around on a cement floor in a cement building and never really touch the physical plane and touch the dirt and really be in contact with the earth. You know, I have people many times say to me, well, you know, we're praying for the earth. Mother Earth needs us. Well, I look at it this way. Mother Earth could fix herself very easily if everyone else quit messing things up. And if we look at the idea of healing, do the healing with the people involved in messing things up and not be in a position where we're trying to say we're healing Mother Earth without changing what's been hurting Mother Earth. And I think it's something that we can do that in prayer and healing in a lot of ways. But I find it's going to be, you know, an interesting energy coming up here, because I really feel spiritually there's a whole huge group of people, you know, on the planet really turning around in a positive way. I think we're in a real learning process. And I feel the groups that like we're in at the moment, I think there's many, 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 many groups out there all over the planet, but we're not always in touch with each other in a tangible physical level. And I believe spiritually, because of our intent and our energy, we are in touch. And that's going to continue to expand. You know, I know some people that do meditation every Sundays, and they talk from all over the world, and they communicate all the time, and they have all this healing energy going. And I think it's something that there's a simultaneous energy going on that's building. I believe to see some of the negativities is a motivator for the positive. And that's where we need to be at. And I feel the Spirit's message would be very, very much that. And I know we're winding down to the end here. If there's any other question, we'll do, and then we'll be pretty close to shutting off here.
Marina.
Marina, hey, you're back.
Hi, Reverend. I'm so sorry. My computer was like really messed up, and the person that was fixing it was here with me. And right now, I said I'm almost at the end of my class, but I'm gonna pop in anyway. Thank you, Reverend, for.
You're welcome.
My fault. I've been really concerned about New York is about to lose religious exemption vaccine mandates, and I'm feeling like, I mean, I'm praying a lot and I'm meditating about it, and I feel like that could help. But I've been hoping that maybe I could join with others, like even if it was by phone, to like start praying. I think that will help. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna turn things around. It looks pretty bad right now in New York that we might lose our religious exemptions to vaccines. So I don't know. I don't know if I can help make a difference. Not only with my.
Not saying that you're going to lose it, but I'm going to put it in this form. What would be more motivative than the possibility of losing it to draw people together in the most positive manner to have the positive things occur? And who's to say that you don't lose it and then get it reinstated, and it'd be even more healing and more powerful than what it's ever been? And not to look at it in a fearful level or a negative level, look at it as something that you see energy around you with people and how they think, and how their thinking at times can be very negative. And I'm seeing you stepping back with a prayer and working with a prayer, but let's pray not from a fear base, but from a harmony base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Harmony base. So like focus on the positive outcome kind of thing.
Yes, focus on the positive outcome and stick with it.
Okay. And you think just me praying alone is good enough, or you think I mean, I've already sent out the invitation to a few people and they're not very positive. They're like, oh, well, but we all have different beliefs. Like nobody's really come through. Should I keep attempting? Maybe I'll find somebody.
All you need to do is your prayer, dear.
Oh, okay.
And if there's people like mine that'll go along with that, that's wonderful. Look how many are on the program tonight.
All right. So just me doing will help something.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you.
Welcome. God bless you.
Sorry I got here so late.
That's all right, dear.
Thank you.
Well, the hour's up. I enjoyed working with all of you, and I hope you enjoyed what I shared and what Spirit shared. So nice meeting you, and we'll see you next time. That will be March 19th.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend.
Take care.
Reverend.
Bye-bye.
Oh.